This is our episode 2 on the Grind Sportscast. Thank you guys for joining in. Today we're going to do a little episode talking about the girls and boys basketball playoffs. So we'll kind of get right into it.
Yeah, for sure. Excited. We've been attending a lot of games this year, and we've been seeing these girls, how they progress, how they've grown, what they've done on the court. And here we are. This is where, it's all on the line now.
This is here it is. It's the end of the season. They've put in the hard work. They've gone to the weekend tournaments. They've done all the stuff preseason. They just got through with league, and so some of the teams have had a rough stretch. Some of them have been on fire. So we'll kind of go through the boys and girls and talk about the brackets that came out this weekend, and we'll just kind of get into it and see how things turn out. First games start tomorrow with the boys. So we'll go through boys and girls. We'll start at the lower division. So we have Division 6, 5. I think we have 4 and 3. Maybe I think Monache goes up to Division 2.
Yeah, Monache and Porterville girls are both in Division 2. So
both of them, the girls teams, Monache and Porterville, are in Division 2. So kind of start at the bottom and work our way up, I think. We'll just... we're looking at who you have the girls, right? And I have the boys.
Yeah.
Oh, you have I think probably the lowest division, which is Division
6.
6. Okay, so who's Division 6?
So we have Division 6. We got Summit Charter, the Lady Bears. They open up their playoff season against Fresno Christian, and it's an away game, so it'll be at Fresno Christian. They're an 8 seed. Summit Charter's a 9 seed. So. It should be a good game, a good close game. They're seated real close, and that's for a reason. So they both beat Woodlake this year. It's a common opponent. They actually have quite a big common opponent. So they both beat Woodlake, but they both lost to Tuscadero, lost to Farmersville, and lost to Parlier. And from what I could tell, they were all pretty close games. So the one outlier is they both played Exeter. Summit Charter lost to Exeter, and Fresno Christian beat Exeter. So,
gotcha.
But on paper, it looks pretty close. It should be a real competitive game.
The Summit Charter girls, I've had the opportunity to see them play throughout the season. They have had one of their key players, Ebony Mendoza, has had an injury off and on through the season. She had an ankle injury. I think I noticed an ankle wrap on her early on in the season, so I think it's something she's been fighting with for the whole time. There's been some games where she's on point, she's good, and then there are some days where you can kind of tell she's hurting a little bit, or maybe she's having an off day. Ebony is a sophomore, so she's still kind of young, a young player. But on the Summit Charter girls, they have 2 of my favorite players in the league in this area, which is Jaden Perez, and then you have Alexis Vasquez, I believe it is, for Summit Charter girls. Jaden Perez was on the Valley Championship team with Lindsay Cardinals last year with Dave Newcomb.
Oh, yeah, okay.
And so she has some big game experience. She's I honestly, when I first started looking at the Summit Charter girls, I was more focused on Ebony because she's what I had seen. She was kind of their person that's been there at Summit Charter,
kind of the leader,
as the leader. And then Jaden came in, and from what I hear, that they all mesh well. Sometimes I can imagine that there's probably some ego that goes on, maybe. With an established person and then another person, which is a varsity player in Jaden Perez, coming in new to a team, and so you have like another kind of a star that joins the team. So, but from everything that I've heard, that they get along great. I like Jaden Perez, and I kind of looked up her Instagram, and you can see she has amazing ball handling skills. She really has a great eye on the court. She, one thing that I see a lot with the girls, and what I think sets the players apart, where you can tell a kid that's been playing since from a very early age in travel ball, is when you see him kind of going down the court, and there's the experienced player that's going down the court with their head up, and they're seeing everything, all the options that are, the passes, they're seeing the court, and then you see those kids that are kind of dribbling and their heads down, and you can kind of tell there's a little.
They're not as experienced, like you said. They're more focused on just, hey, I don't want to mess up, or I don't want to turn the ball over, or what,
Right.
Yeah. Yeah, and like you said, the experienced ones are looking up, they're looking down the court, they're anticipating their next play, their next pass, what the defense is going to be doing. So, yeah.
Yeah, so Jaden Perez is that player where she has some good experience. You can tell that she's a couple notches ahead of a lot of girls out there. So they have Ebony Mendoza, Jaden Perez. They have other weapons on the team, in which I just mentioned. Another one of my favorites, who is Alexis Vasquez. She's a senior as well, and I love her grittiness. She's real tough. She'll get under the rim and fight for the rebounds. She's a great asset to the team as well. So I'm definitely rooting for Summit Charter girls. What seed are they?
So they're a 9 seed.
They're a 9 seed, and they're playing who again?
They're playing Fresno Christian. It's at Fresno Christian. If they win that game, well, whoever wins that game is going to move on. They'll be playing the winner of Kern Valley Baker. Kern Valley being the 1 seed in this bracket. So.
Oh, okay. So Kern Valley is if I'm not mistaken,
is the
leader in this bracket.
Yeah.
Kern Valley is number 1 in that bracket.
And number 1 in the bracket.
Really?
Yeah.
So Summit Charter already beat Kern Valley this year.
Oh, did they?
I watched that game, and the girls beat Kern Valley 57-52.
Oh, wow.
So it was a competitive game. It was a great game. I remember I was there that night. So man, that's awesome. They've already beat the number 1 seed.
Yeah.
So that's a good news for Summit Charter girls. If they can play tough and they can continue doing what they're doing, out there, they can have a chance to.
They have a chance to advance pretty deep, huh?
Oh yeah, great, yeah, heck yeah.
Hopefully they're healthy, like you mentioned.
Exactly.
They had one of them been dealing with some injuries. So,
nice. Yeah. So I can jump over the boys. We can talk about the boys Division 5. We have Strathmore is playing Erosi. Strathmore is the number 5 seed playing Erosi. I'd have to dig into my notes a little bit and kind of see what they're looking like. But I know that Strathmore's they just came off a loss to Granite Hills. Strathmore only has 3 losses on the season, and 2 of their losses were to Corcoran. So it seems like Corcoran, I think is the girls' team undefeated?
The girls, Corcoran, they were undefeated in league.
And
they beat the Strathmore girls twice this year, including the last game of the year,
so
too.
So the Corcoran teams are...
Corcoran, both sides, they're balling up this year.
They're doing it this year. So Strathmore boys basketball playing Erosi. Then you also have Summit Charter playing Arvin. Now Summit Charter's 838 in the state. Arvin is 1257 in the state. Summit Charter's coming off a 7-1 league record. They just had a 73-61 loss against Orange Cove. But from what I hear, Orange Cove has been kind of like bumping heads with Summit Charter. The last game they played, they had I think they had to stop the game early because it kind of got a little ugly.
Yeah.
So Orange Cove seems to be maybe having it out for Summit Charter boys basketball. But the Summit Charter boys basketball, I like those guys, man. We watched them in Exeter, remember, at the tournament?
Yeah, that Saturday tournament.
The Saturday tournament in Exeter, we watched them play there. They played against Miramonte, and they did great in that game.
Yeah.
I think it's Sean Smith is one of the kids that we thought that stood out in that game, and I think he is one of their key players. So you have...
is he their point guard?
Let me look that up.
Yeah. So if I remember right, the thing that stood out was their point guard. His poise, his command of the game. The way that he was able to kind of facilitate everything that was going on with all the other players on his team. You can tell he has some leadership qualities that stood out to me.
I like Sean Smith, man. He's the same kid that we were looking at that Exeter game. It doesn't show their roster on here, but I know there's another a tall kid with kind of curly hair. I don't know his name, but he's a pretty tough kid. They have 3 or 4 weapons that I don't know names, but I know that there were 3 or 4 different guys on the court that were that are pretty tough, that are a pretty strong team. So
and they're ranked what? What's their
Summit Charter is number 4 in the bracket. Arvin's number 13 in the bracket.
Okay.
Arvin just came off of a loss to Miramonte, and then which Summit Charter
beat earlier, yeah.
And then Summit Charter came off of a loss to Orange Cove. But like I said, I think Orange Cove kind of has it's a rivalries brewing between those two. So I feel like Orange Cove probably came out ready to
with a little bit of a chip on their shoulder, ready to.
Oh yeah, ready for battle.
Yeah.
So on Tuesday, and all games start at 6 p.m.
Yeah.
For the playoffs. Tuesday we have Strathmore playing Erosi at home. We have Summit Charter playing Arvin at home, and we have Granite Hills, which I haven't talked about yet, but they're coming off a win from over Strathmore, so they're probably on a high note. Ended off the season on a high note. Granite is playing Desert, which is at Edwards Air Force Base. So Granite's on the road, but Summit and Strathmore are both playing at home. And that's Division 6 boys basketball. So go out and support those teams if you get a chance. Division 5 Strathmore Summit playing at home tomorrow night, which is Tuesday, February 13th. Yeah. So we're putting these things online, so you can go back and check them out. But so I'll kind of maybe drop the dates once in a while so you can kind of have reference to what we're talking about and when we're talking about. This is the very first set of games on the bracket for playoffs. Going
first round games.
First round, and headed towards the Valley. Used to be called Valley, now it's called Central Section. And so if anybody doesn't know what the reason behind that is, that they added all the coastal teams into our section, and I think that before it might have been like a coastal division or something like that.
And a Valley division.
And then Valley. And so since they're not technically in the Valley, they changed it to Central Section.
Yeah.
So that's why you don't hear Valley Championship anymore.
Makes sense.
So you got the Central Section. This is the first round of games this week. We're going to go ahead and get into the next one, which is...
So Division 5 girls. And we have 3 local teams that made these playoffs. So first we'll start at the top. Farmersville, a little bit out of the Orange Belt, but... we included them because they're local, small school, and we've seen them play. So they're a 9 seed, and they're playing Cesar Chavez, who's an 8 seed. So very close in bracket. Should be a close game. They both lost to Lindsay this year, and Lindsay, Lindsay's good. Like you said, they were Valley title last year. They lost a couple players, but they made the playoffs in the same bracket. So Lindsay's going to be a tough opponent should they meet them down the road. So Farmersville, they will be playing on Wednesday, and they will be away. So they'll be traveling to Cesar Chavez. They're 9 seed to the 8 seed. Next in that bracket, you have Exeter. Exeter girls, they're an 11 seed. They open up against the Tuscadero. So they'll be traveling to Tuscadero, the 6 seed. They have a couple common opponents. Actually, let's start out with they played each other this year, actually, one time.
Oh, did they?
So Exeter and Tuscadero played each other this year. Exeter won the meeting by 1 point.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, so I think it was back around Thanksgiving.
So Atascadero is going to definitely feel like they can come in and be competitive with this team and probably beat this team. So they're going to be ready to go for it, man.
And they haven't forgot. The coaches probably haven't let them forget. Like, hey, this team, this is a way to advantage. This is some extra motivation. And
heck yeah!
Any extra motivation in the playoffs is a good thing. You can't downplay that. They both lost to Santa Maria this year, and they both beat Granite Hills, Summit Charter, and Erosi. So that game is actually going to be real competitive. So even though they're seeded a little bit, there's the gap between their seeding. It's going to be a close game.
What's the seeding again on those two?
Tuscadero is a 6 seed, and Exeter is 11.
Okay, nice. Yeah. Exeter sports, I feel like, has kind of started coming to the surface a lot more. I know the football team did a great job this year, and so Exeter. So I don't know if we're just starting to pay attention more, or if some of these teams are starting to kind of rise up a little bit. But like Corcoran, I've never really honestly paid attention a lot to Corcoran, and now they have 2 awesome teams. The boys and girls, they're doing great. So that's awesome.
Yeah, hats
off to those guys.
A little bit of a resurgence, huh?
Yeah, and hats off to those small communities.
Yeah. Congratulations to all these teams, that made the playoffs.
But I really like to see the Farmersville and Corcoran, little small towns thriving. That's pretty cool. One thing that I saw Farmersville play Summit Charter, and then we saw Farmersville play Strathmore. And one thing that I noticed about Farmersville in both of those games that they're very physical, and so you've got to be physical against Farmersville. We also watched the game where Jasmine Stewart hit her 1,000 points.
Yeah, we've seen that. Yeah,
we saw that. We were watching it, doing a live feed. It was on a weekend tournament that they were playing, and so she got her 1,000 points. So kudos to her. Congratulations to Jasmine Stewart. I believe she's only a sophomore, so great job to her. And speaking of 1,000 points, Riley Schoonover should be getting close to her 1,000 points. Yeah. So we'll get back into that when we get to Porterville, but she should be coming close to it as well.
One last thing before we go to the next team. Just being physical, being scrappy on the court, and one thing that, and I don't know if this is a strategy of theirs, but you're gonna kind of take that step and be as physical as you can until the referee starts calling fouls, and if they're gonna let you guys play, which is kind of the phrase that we use when the referees kind of hold
they're
back.
They're not calling the calls when we think they should be calling,
or throwing flags in football or stuff like that. If the referees are letting you play, and at this time of year, it seems to be that's more of the trend that happens. The other team should be aware of it. Our other local teams should be aware that, hey, look, if the referees aren't calling anything, then maybe you give it a little bit extra here and there.
Yeah, that's the thing is that if the other team is being physical with you, you have to match that physicality.
Yeah.
And you can't just sit around and complain about, the refs aren't calling this. You have to do something about it. Yeah. You have to match that energy.
Yeah, because they're going to bully you, really.
They are. Yeah. And so you've got to definitely step up your game until if it gets, where both of you guys are kind of getting worse and worse, and then finally they start calling fouls, then you're going to have to just kind of adjust at that point. But but up to that point, you have to start getting physical with the team
within the rules of the game, though, we're not trying to promote anything that's unsportsmanlike or anything by that means, But for like you said, match. You have to match. It's a competitive advantage,
right? Exactly. And I feel like if the team is the other team or even our team is being physical and the refs aren't calling things and the other team's not matching the energy, like you said, you're going to run with that as long as you can, and take that advantage while you can. So I've seen it out there. Fans going to start getting upset. The girls basketball, which we'll talk about that a little bit more when we get to it. But they you start seeing them kind of going like, how come we're not getting these calls? And you have to you have to put that behind you.
You do. You got to play through it. You got to focus on what you can control.
And right now in the playoffs, everybody's gonna be putting their best foot forward. They're gonna be doing everything they can to win these games. So match the energy, match the energy for sure.
All right, the last one in that bracket, Lindsay. Lindsay's a 7 seed. They're playing Fowler, so they're a 7 seed. Fowler's a 10 seed. So Lindsay will be opening up in the first round at home on Wednesday. So they have one common opponent, Strathmore. Lindsay lost twice to the Strathmore girls this year, and Fowler actually beat the Strathmore girls by 1 point. So Strathmore girls are a good team. We watched them last couple of years, and so this game, it's not going to be an easy game for Lindsay at all.
Sure. I like on Lindsay. I just watched their game against Erosi last week. And they have Ava Ione, who I really like. She's a senior, but she's kind of similar to Jaden Perez, which they were actually teammates. And she has a great court vision. She can kind of see the court, and she's dribbling the ball with her head up, looking at all the possibilities on the court, the passes and all those things, the shots and lanes, and she has great ball handling skills. So I really like Ava Ione. There's a few other girls on the team, but we're just kind of digging in, scratching the surface. So we're still kind of getting to know a lot of these players, but she's actually definitely one that stands out to me. But under their leadership of Dave Newcomb, he's a great friend of mine. I love this guy. He's had the Rising Stars basketball, and actually, I want to kind of tip my hat to Dave Newcomb because his Rising Stars organization that he's got here in town there's multiple players, boys and girls, in playoffs right now, from Porterville boys, Porterville girls, Menachie boys and girls. Lindsay, he's coaching over there. This guy's doing some awesome things in town. The Rising Stars League is really an awesome league, and even coaches. Coach Andrew, I believe, was coaching with him. He's got Coach JB, that's the girls basketball coach at Menachie right now, doing great things. So a lot of those people got their start, whether it's coaches and athletes from Rising Stars. So hats off to Dave Newcomb. I love this guy, a great friend of mine, and nothing but good things to say about him. So under his leadership, I know that anything can happen. He's a great guy, and I believe in Dave 100% with all my heart. So that's Lindsay.
That's Lindsay.
Lindsay girls basketball. So we covered that.
Yeah.
Next up, we have Division 4 boys basketball, and which is Menachie. Menachie is going into this first round of playoffs as a number 7 seed against number 10 Justin Garza. Menachie lost twice to Porterville in the last couple weeks. I get my Max Prep updates, and I have Ty Baxter, who's on Menachie's team. I'm following him, and so I always get these updates that show up, and the updates always come up, and they say something along the lines of Menachie falls short despite a valiant effort from Ty Baxter, and so he's always the one in the like in the headlines. Ty's an amazing kid. He just hit his 1,000 points a couple weeks ago. Congratulations to Ty Baxter on that accomplishment. I love this kid. I've known him since he was small. He's played football with my kids, and I've watched him and been a fan of his since he was young. So Menachie has a lot of good weapons on their team. I don't know. I've only watched a couple of games of Menachie's, and I see the talent. They're 3-7 in the league, but I'm going to look at their schedule really quick because I think I remember looking at this and seeing a lot of their losses were not by a large margin. Like they played Corcoran, which we're talking about Corcoran being a great team. They lost to Corcoran 58-54. They did lose to Dinuba by a pretty sizable amount, 84-51. Delano, they lost 64-60. So Fresno Christian 63-60. There are some games where they had some pretty tough
close,
losses as well, but they had a lot of really close losses. So Menachie is a team that I think with the talent they've got, they have Emmett Folke on their team as well. I'm going to pull up their roster just so I can name drop a couple kids that I know that are doing a great job out there. Ramsey Barrios, I've heard his name out there. Isaiah Rogers. You have Jose Miranda as another kid that came from the Rising Stars League. Okay. Ty Baxter, Jaden Garcia. They definitely have DJ Scheimer. There's another kid that I know his name. Emmett Folke, of course. Okay, so they have a lot of talent on their team. I think they have a lot of potential. I think they just need to get it together.
Yeah, get some cohesion going.
So here's the good news, I guess, is if we're looking at this matchup, Menachie's number 7, Justin Garza's number 10. Justin Garza was 1-9 in league, so they've struggled. They've struggled.
Yeah.
So Menachie, if you guys can get past Justin Garza, then you're looking at the number 2 seed, Santa Ynez, or number 15 seed, Pioneer Valley. If Pioneer Valley somehow will pull off a crazy upset against the number 2 seed, then Menachie would have a home game on their second round, which would be Thursday. So I'm going to keep my fingers crossed and be rooting for Menachie boys and for Pioneer Valley that we can maybe get us a home game on Thursday.
There you go. Yeah. All right. Now on the Division 4 girls, and our team there is Strathmore. Strathmore. This is a team we've seen a lot of. I have a niece that plays on that team. They're good. They're tough. They're scrappy. They play hard. They communicate well out there. It seems like they're led. They're coached too, and that's one thing that I wanted to bring up. I forgot to bring up earlier was with these teams that are making the playoffs, and you alluded to it with the coach of Lindsay. Your organization, your players on the court, they're going to do well, they're going to do good, but that's a reflection of the coaching staff.
Oh yeah.
If the coaching staff isn't good, or they're not communicating or talking or lifting up these kids, then it's going to show on the court too.
Oh yeah.
And so that's another thing I want to give some praise to the coaching staffs of all these teams. But Strathmore, they're a 10 seed, and they are going to be traveling to Tulare Western, who's a 7 seed, to play Tulare Western. They actually played once this year already. Strathmore won the game 52-40. So that meeting was just before Christmas on the 21st of December. So it should be a good competitive game. It should be a really good game. But that environment going into Tulare Western is probably not going to be a very comforting environment. So Strathmore better be prepared. And whoever comes out of that game, their next game, they'll be either playing Golden West, who Strathmore beat earlier this year, 54-21, or the number 2 seed Emmanuel, who Strathmore did lose to, 41-37. So
that's not a bad. That's not a bad loss against the number two seed.
Number 2 seed. Yeah,
no, that's not bad at all.
Yeah, so Strathmore has a good. They have some winnable games here going forward. They could make a deep run for sure. And they were 6-2 in league, and their 2 losses were to Corcoran.
Oh, there you go. Oh, yeah. So we're talking about Corcoran having some tough teams.
Yeah.
That's 2 of their losses right there.
They're on the opposite sides of the bracket. So, if they do meet, it'll be in the Valley or in the Central Section Championship game.
Yeah, so we could be possibly seeing. Yeah. That'd be amazing to see Corcoran and Strathmore at the Selland Arena. I keep wanting to say Valley Championship, but Central Section. We'll get used to it sooner or later. But let me highlight a couple of players. So we have Pearl Johnson, freshman. But she's a 6-foot freshman.
Yeah.
She's, she has some tad bit of, I'd say, youngness. She's very young in the game. She's a great player. You could just you can tell that she's a freshman in some ways, but she's 6 foot tall, man, and she's under the rim. But she's not. I'm not saying that she's not a good player. It's just I feel by year 2, 3 in high school, you're going to see some great improvements in this girl. Yeah. And she's I believe her brother plays as well for Strathmore boys. But she's awesome. I mean, she stands out like a sore thumb because she's so tall. Yeah. So she was. I remember her being under the rim and getting a lot of rebounds. And she's tough. She's a tall, skinny thing, but she's a tough kid. And also your niece, right?
Yeah, Jennifer Gonzalez.
Jennifer Gonzalez, and she's a junior. And you know what? Actually, now that I think about it, okay, so we were talking about Lindsay Cardinals being the Valley champions last year. We went to the game where Strathmore and Lindsay played last year.
It was in Strathmore,
and that was a tough game, right? It was I feel like it was a down to the wire kind of. It was a real close game. Yeah. Rivalry match between those two for sure.
The rival, They're rivals.
And so and your niece played in that game as a sophomore. So here she is as a junior making another Valley title, Central Section title run again. Hopefully we'll see them get past the first round and continue on.
Yeah, for sure.
We'll get to know more and more of these players as we go. Throughout these years, we get more familiarized with them. But those are 2 that stand out to me. I think there's another. I think it's Alyssa Gonzalez. I don't see any stats.
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they don't post stats. So.
Yeah, so it's kind of tough sometimes. We've been reporting on a lot of teams that we find stats on, and we're able to do more on those teams and
some more research.
And so, if you guys have any stats or coaches or parents or stat keepers have stats that you can shoot over to us that we can help spotlight your teams, don't be afraid to do that. Send those over to us. All right, now next up we have Division III boys basketball, and that is Porterville High School. Porterville boys, they are in the number 15 seed, so they're pretty low in the seeding. They're going to play number 2 Sierra. The Porterville boys, I've watched them play. They did well against Monache. Obviously, they have 2 wins against Monache. Porterville is. I'm going to look at their stats here or their schedule and kind of so I can familiarize myself again really quick with that. But just thinking back to their team, they have a team that will fight all the way to the final buzzer. Yeah. In the Monache game that they played 2 weeks ago, or was it a week or 2 ago, the first time they played, they were down by 5 points with 2 minutes left in the game. Yeah. They ended up winning that game. I believe it was by a point. And I know Braden Della is a key contributor. Was hitting some 3-pointers, and they ended up coming back and beating Monache in the last 2 minutes. It ended up being 60-59. They won in the last final few seconds. So Porterville boys are going to fight. They're going to fight. Yeah. They have some kids that were there last year.
They made it all the way to the Valley title, the CI Central Section title game.
Central Section title game. So you got some kids. So you've got Landon Haynes, you have Aiden Ceballos, Braden Della, Jace Belangi.
Yeah.
All 4 of those kids were there last year, and I remember watching that game. I believe, if I remember correctly, they the other team kind of took away with the lead, ran away with the lead in the second half. But I remember looking at those kids and saying, those kids are going to be back here again. So I believe that Porterville boys, I know they're a 15 seed. If they can make it past number 2 Sierra, they have a shot. I think it won't be an easy road, but they have a shot. At getting back to Selland Arena again for sure.
Yeah.
So
well, they have the experience, and one thing I've noticed about those boys is they even, it doesn't matter how, if they're down or not, they always appear, and they have the attitude and the confidence that they're going to win. That they just have that kind of swagger to them, and that's something that that's a valuable attribute to have in the playoffs. So,
all right. So our last but not least, I would like to say we saved the best for last. Actually, the teams that I'm most excited to watch, I can say much love to all of the teams in the playoffs, but these 2 we kind of saved them for last on purpose.
I think of the 2 teams that we've probably seen the most together anyway.
Yeah.
So we have Division II girls, and this bracket's full of a bunch of tough teams. That's where we find Porterville and Wenatchee girls. So the Lady Panthers open up. They're the 13th seed in the Division II bracket, and they'll be traveling to Sierra Pacific to play the 4 seed. Their one common opponent this year between the 2 of them, Sierra Pacific beat El Diamante 70-32, and Porterville lost twice to El Diamante. And both of those games didn't seem to be too competitive.
Yeah, the El Diamante game we just saw this past week was by a 30-point margin. I think the game they played them prior to that was close to 30 points as well. So they've had a tough time with El Diamante, and so Porterville's going to have a long road, I think, as well in this bracket. What their seeding? What is their seeding number again?
They're 13.
13. So they're pretty low on the bracket, but they've got a couple seniors that are graduating that are moving on after this season, but they have a young team that they'll have some returning players. So I'm going to be rooting for them. But if they don't somehow make it, all the way to the end of this season, then I'd keep their heads up and kind of say, I think we might do a season-ending, season wrap-up, episode where we can kind of go over some of the things that we think that can help them improve, things that we're seeing out there on the court. So, we'll see how Porterville does. I'm rooting for them for sure, man. They're the Porterville team, the Porterville High School. So let's get it, girls. Let's make it happen.
For sure.
The seniors that are on your team, the team out there. Let's just go out in your shield. Let's put it all on the line and let's do it. The last your last hoorah for high school girls basketball anyway. And I spoke about Riley Schoonover, her points earlier. She was nearing in on 1,000. I don't know what. I'm going to see if I can find really quickly what she's at currently. I was looking at the Max Preps points, and they're not always up to date. So I'm going to look at what they're at now and check. Maybe I can find out. I usually get in touch with one of her uncles that messages me and kind of gets me some info. I don't like to bother Jen too much because I know she's busy coaching and all of that stuff. So I try to find some little info here and there, and he kind of keeps me up to date. So I'm going to see if I can find her stats. Basketball stats. It looks like she's at, it shows 990 points. 990 points.
Wow.
So, and it shows that it was updated on February 9th, which was, what was their last game?
The last game was last Thursday, maybe?
Well, yeah,
last Friday.
So Friday it was updated. So it shows that it was the points were updated. She's at 990. So she's right on the brink of breaking 1,000 points, career points. If whether they advance past this round in the playoffs or not, I'm sure she can pull out 10 points and get the 1,000 points this season.
She's averaging 19 point. What is it? Do you have that in front of you?
She's points per game. It looks like I don't know if I'm looking in the right spot, but points per game is 16.8. So if she continues on the trend that she's been on this year, then she should have a 1,000-point season or 1,000 points career points for the in her sophomore season. So I'm gonna be rooting for Riley Schoonover to hit her 1,000 points in this first playoff game.
An accomplishment in just 2 years. Wow.
Yeah, that's it. Because there are some players that we watched this year that so Danae Banuelos from Golden West, she reached 1,000 points. She's a senior. Ty Baxter reached 1,000 points. He's also a junior, I believe Ty Baxter is. And so so doing it as a sophomore is a great accomplishment. Yeah. That's a great accomplishment, man. So I hats off to Riley and the girls that surround her on her team that also help make it happen. You know,
for sure.
It doesn't just happen. You don't do it on your own. You do it with the help of your teammates that surround you. Ty Baxter is a junior, so he hit 1,000 points. So we'll kind of maybe start looking towards maybe 15 for him. And see how they do in the playoffs and how they do he does on his senior season with some of the other players that are returning that'll be key contributors for him.
There you go.
On his team. So then last but definitely not least, we have Monache girls varsity basketball.
Yeah.
Man, that team, the Lady Marauders, led by Coach Jonathan Bartlett, a good friend of mine, a guy that I've known for a long time. I want to get him in here actually and do an interview with him here pretty soon and talk about just his coaching strategy and what their keys to success this season have been. That team is an all-star cast, bro.
Yeah, you hit the nail on the head. They're awesome season. They're 27-2 overall, 10-0 in league. They're ranked 64th in the state of California.
64th in California.
Yeah.
Oh man.
They're definitely up there. They're the number 1 seed in Division II, and their on the court presence is just like nothing I've ever seen. Not here recently, anyway. They just have this cohesion. They're all on the same page, and it shows.
It definitely shows, man. This past week we watched Porterville versus Monache play. I watched Porterville Monache play the last couple times, and they have a sophomore named Millie Rojas. Hits threes like crazy. Kai Bartlett hits threes like crazy. They have so many weapons on this team, man. Alicia Verdejo, 1,000 points, career points. They have Shelly Andrade, who's a beast under the basket, getting rebounds and kicking it back out, and even putting the ball back up. They have an all-star cast, bro.
They do. London
Haynes is it. Jalissa Miranda's another one that I know that the name rings a bell for me. But holy smokes, man! They have this team. So when I went to Monache, they had it was Amanda Baker was one of these a prodigy girls basketball player. There was a Shea Perkis. There was a few people at that time. The team was larger than life. They went, I believe, all the way to the state. I think it was a state championship. I remember watching a state game in the gym at Monache when I was in high school, and just going like, "Wow, this is crazy." They lost that game, but it was insane.
Surreal.
And I've never seen a team, and admittedly, I haven't watched a whole lot of girls basketball in the last some years that I've been out of high school. But I've never seen a team like this since that Amanda Baker team. That I was blown away. Like, man, this is some crazy level of talent. So I would advise people that are out there that haven't got out to the games and watched one of these girls basketball games. They're playing at home here. They're the number 1 seed. They're going to play at home all the way till they get to Sound Arena if they make it that far. I don't want to jinx them, but They're going to play at home, so get out and go support this team. Man, it's. Oh, I don't want to miss it. I'm going to be there. I'm going to be there for sure watching. And it's really cool because this team is a young team.
Yeah, they have a lot of sophomores.
So it's insane that they're this good and they're only sophomores.
Yeah.
Man, this is the team to win the state, bro.
Yeah.
If any team in Porterville is going to win state, it's this team.
This one. They're impressive for sure.
They are impressive, man. And so, they're playing in Division II. Monache, that I've known a lot of times in multiple sports, has played 3, 4. And Division II is kind of always those bigger schools.
Yeah.
And these girls are competing at level 2. And it's
and they're blowing people away. They have 2 losses this year. One was to Clovis, and one was to Tehachapi.
Yeah, and they're 10-0 in EYL. 2 losses, bro. Man,
they do have Tehachapi in this bracket, Division II bracket. So potentially down the road in the championship game, they could avenge that loss earlier in the year. But yeah, you're right. It's going to be fun to see this run because. I don't know, especially not the first couple rounds. I don't see anybody that could beat them.
So here's the thing. Here's one. I watched Monache play in a weekend tournament a couple weekends ago, and they played San Joaquin Memorial, who is 10-0 in the league. So they were on a crazy win streak when Monache played them. And San Joaquin Memorial, I believe, is Division II, and so they're. In their division, they have Bullard, Sanger, Edison, Madera, Justin Garza, and so they have a pretty tough division as well.
Yeah, it's competitive.
Obviously, when you're in the Fresno schools or even big Bakersfield schools, you've got some good competition. Well, Monache went in and beat San Joaquin Memorial in one of those weekend showcases. I'm going to look at what the score was, but I was watching that game. And I was like, man, this is they beat San Joaquin Memorial 62-59. So they beat them by 3, but that says a lot. That says a lot because San Joaquin Memorial's is 10-0 in their league, and they've been on a tear.
Yeah, I was gonna say, they're, and like you said, they're a bigger school. The competition pool is, the talent pool is bigger, so the competition is more fierce.
Oh, definitely.
For Monache to come out there with a win, it's definitely a. It just goes to show you everything that we're saying about them.
Oh,
These
yeah.
are just all stats that are backing up what what we're saying, and then all the fans will see if they come out and watch them. They're incredible.
They're the real deal. Yeah, you go out there and you'll see it. You witness it for yourself. Don't take our word.
Yeah.
Witness it for yourself.
Yeah.
Check it out.
Go support them.
Go support Monache girls and all the local teams. So if we can do a real quick recap. So we'll talk about who is playing home and away. We have, I'll go real quick. First, we have Division III boys basketball is Porterville. They're playing away at Sierra.
Division II girls basketball, Monache will be home on Wednesday. Porterville will be away on Wednesday. They'll be traveling to Sierra Pacific.
And then real quick, the Porterville game I just mentioned, that's on Tuesday. So all the boys' games are going to be on Tuesday this week.
On Wednesday.
All the games will be Wednesday. If they make it past the first round, the second set of games, boys would be the Thursday game. And
the girls will be on Friday.
On Friday. Perfect. So then next up I have Monache boys basketball Division 4. Number 7, Monache will be playing at home on Tuesday against Justin Garza. So
Division 4 girls, I have Strathmore, a 10 seed. They'll be traveling to Tulare Western, a 7 seed, and that'll be on Wednesday in Tulare.
All right, and then I have the Division 6 boys basketball. You have Strathmore playing Erosi at home. You have Summit Charter playing Arvin at home, and you have Granite Hills traveling to Desert, which is Edwards Air Force Base, on Tuesday. So overall, we have Monache boys are playing at home. On Tuesday, you have Strathmore boys playing at home on Tuesday. You have Summit Charter boys playing at home on Tuesday. All games starting at 6 o'clock for the playoffs.
Okay, so we got a couple more. We got Division 5 girls. These are all on Wednesday, 6 o'clock. Farmers will be traveling to Cesar Chavez. Exeter will be traveling to Tuscadero. And Lindsay will be hosting a home playoff game against Fowler. That's on Wednesday. Also on Wednesday, Division 6 girls basketball, Summit Charter number 9 will be traveling to Fresno Christian to play their opening round game.
All right, so I think that's about it, right, for this
this
episode.
Yeah,
hey, thanks to everybody for tuning in. We appreciate you guys.
Yeah.
Anything else you want to add?
No, other than, we'll be out there. We'll be out there. If you see us, we'll have our On the Grind Sportscast gear on. So, give us a
Say what's
holler.
up. We have some keychains that I'm passing out. I take
Yeah.
with me to the games. If you see me out there, hit me up for a keychain. It has our QR code that links you to our YouTube page, our Instagram page, and all that good stuff where you can get a hold of us to feed us information, give us some tips,
suggestions, tips,
all that good stuff.
With the playoffs starting, I think we'll definitely be paying a little closer attention to the snack bars too.
Oh,
Brad,
heck
we did
yeah.
mention that. So, be prepared.
On the Grind Sportscast. Thank you guys for joining us. We'll talk to you soon.